privilege to be able to share my testimony with you guys today. Something that I really just asked God, reveal something to me that I can share with you guys. And what really stood out to me was just about God's faithfulness in my life. So today I want to share that with you. It was about 10 years ago where I stood at the top of the Palms Hotel in Las Vegas, overlooking this wall of windows at the top of this hotel in a penthouse, and was just amazed at this city. It was in this moment that God spoke to the depths of my soul. I grew up in a Christian home, and I accepted Jesus at about age 6. I had a deep relationship with him as a child and really discovered my desire for ministry. Some of my favorite things to do were helping with the homeless, feed the homeless. One of my favorite field trips was going to old folks' homes and serving them and just getting to minister with them. So I knew at a young age God had placed upon my life the call to full-time ministry. Well, at about age 15, a devastating situation happened to me where I felt that I was rejected from God. And that really marked my path in rebellion towards God. It was then when I started to take steps away from God and fall into a life that I'm not proud of. My best friend at the time was involved in the modeling industry, and I got really caught up in the fame and riches of that lifestyle. There were people that I was surrounded by that the world had worshipped and looked up to in many ways. And all that I could see was in their eyes just this emptiness that they were searching for and that they were not finding in all of the worldly things that we race after and look for today to fulfill that contentment in our life. So often, God would remind me in those times, what are you doing? Aren't you empty inside? Why are you chasing after these things that you know that do not matter? For you know the things that I have planned for you. But more and more, I just kept giving the world more of my soul. Well, as I stood in front of these windows, looking at the grandness of Las Vegas, the beautiful structures and just the fast-paced lifestyle, it was at that moment that God said to me, Jennifer, what are you doing? You can gain the whole world. You can have all of this, but you are going to lose your soul. And at that moment, I can't tell you the fear, and I believe it was holy fear that God gave me, that I wanted to do anything to turn my life around. And I did not want to waste one more moment in chasing after things I knew would leave me unfulfilled and unsatisfied. At that moment, I decided I want to start over for you, God. Do whatever it takes. Help me. Give me strength, because I was weak in that time. All of my friends, everything I knew involved and revolved around this lifestyle. So at that time, I had to make big changes in my life. I had to erase all my friends' phone numbers. I had to move back into my parents' house, just completely separate myself from this lifestyle. And I prayed that God would direct my life to where he wanted me to go. Well, I got involved with a church down in San Diego, and it's a well-known mega church called The Rock, and that is actually where I met my husband, Bear. And in that time, God led me to just a wonderful group of Christian women that held me accountable and helped me move forward in my walk with God. I also prayed that God would give me an opportunity to serve him in an extreme way. I actually asked God, I want to leave this country for you. Send me somewhere. And he sent me and gave me the opportunity to serve at a Bible college in Hungary. And I spent a semester there and got to just serve in many amazing ways, some of which were young mothers' homes and mental illness hospitals. And one of my favorites was just at abandoned baby hospital, just loving on these babies. And it was at that time that God reaffirmed my call to ministry. And it was so exciting to me. And just listening to about the history of what that song was, East and West, I thought to myself, wow, God had to bring me completely to the east of this world to reconfirm that call and to bring me back here. And I'm just so blessed that God reaffirmed that call and that promise he had given me as a child. Well, during that time, I came back and I later got married to Bear. And we spent the last 7 years of our marriage just looking for that opportunity to serve God. We knew that we wanted to serve him in full-time ministry, and we pursued many different opportunities, but so many of those things God said, no, not yet. And it was frustrating, I'll be honest. We wanted to serve him. We loved camp ministry, and that's something that we really tried to pursue. But each time, God said, not yet. And now, being here, I see exactly what God was doing. But at the time, it was frustrating because we were excited to serve God. Well, I had no idea what the Salvation Army was. I am first generation. My husband comes from a long line of Salvation Army officers, and he would tell me a little bits at a time, but I had no idea what the Salvation Army was. And what kind of really brought me and Bear back to the Army was the camp ministry. And that's, again, what I thought he had planned for us. And it was in that time that he actually steered our path in another direction. And one day, Bear came to me and said, Jen, I want to talk to you about something that God's laid on my heart, that we are to be officers in the Salvation Army. Well, at first, I was like a little kid who said, no way, there's no way I'm going to go to school for 2 years and give up my opportunity to be a full-time mom, because at the time, that was something that just I loved. And but God was faithful, and he said, Jen, just take some time and pray about it. And so I didn't say no to the idea, but I spent time in prayer. And sure enough, God totally molded my heart to be excited for this call. And I'm here today, and in 8 months, God willing, I will be commissioned here to a life of just wonder and excitement. And I think about what it entails to be a Salvation Army officer, and I think of the faithfulness that God made me to be, what an officer entails to be. Everything that I learned that we're going to get to do is exactly the things that as a child I loved doing. And it's just so awesome to think that God chose this life for me, specifically made this life for me. And I just can't wait to see the things that God has planned for me. And I know he will be faithful in every obstacle that will come my way. And I know there's going to be a lot. And I can just rest in that fact of that God will be faithful in my life. And I encourage you all that the next 2 years for some of you and 8 months for some of you, that God's going to just be faithful in all the things that come up in your life, all the fears, all the insecurities, that God's brought you here today. So just rejoice in that and take one step at a time and see God's faithfulness in your life. So I want to leave you with a verse found in Philippians 1:6, and it says, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. And so just to be encouraged by that. God is faithful. Thank you.